Well, I would like to do an art activity with you. I think one of the main concerns seems to be the environment. So it's important for me to remember what your environment is. And I know that you said that it's in the rural community. So I would like to draw a picture with you of a rural environment. And it'll help me remember that this is the environment that I want to protect. When I look at this environment, I'll think about the tooth fairy because I know that this is where your home is. And I want it to be safe and comfortable for all the fairies and tooth fairies and just for you. So will you draw a drawing with me?
Sure.
Excellent. Well, for this drawing, and class, please join along. For this drawing, you'll need a piece of paper. You're going to be holding it in the landscape position. This is also called horizontally. You also need a pencil with an eraser. Oh, here's my pencil and eraser. All right. Now, I'm going to be working on the dry erase board so that you can see it, and it's a lot easier. But you continue to work on your paper. All right, Tooth Fairy, we're going to start. I think the first thing to start with is going to be a horizon line. A horizon line is what separates the earth from the sky. And we're going to make a line that goes all across our paper from one end to the other, just like so. Now the line doesn't have to be completely straight because the ground is not straight. It has, you know, maybe a little bit of a bump. So don't worry about it if it's not completely straight. That is not the important thing. But now that we have this line, remember, do you remember what it's called, Miss Tooth Fairy, the Tooth Fairy?
The horizon line?
Yes, separation. Now, what's going to be here is going to be on the ground. This is going to be growing on the ground, and this is going to be above the ground, which is going to be sky and whatever is growing on the ground. Well, let's now create some mountains along our horizon line because I want to think about a big, vast rural area. So sometimes I've seen a lot of mountains in the rural area. So let's do that. Now you're going to start with a shape of a mountain that is a little bit jagged and bumpy. Don't make a smooth shape. Watch this. And don't go all the way to the top of your paper because you want to leave room for your sun or clouds. So watch my first mountain. Notice how my line is a little bit shaky because I want to show texture. And I know mountains have a lot of texture. So I don't want it to be just a straight line. So you want to try to make that shape?
Sure.
And then I'm going to continue to make mountains all along this horizon line. So I'll make another one. Now, I think the important thing to know is that mountains are not triangles. And some of them are not have a peak. They might have a cliff, which is a straight edge. So make your mountains different sizes and different shapes. Look at that one. Oh. And we want to make mountains that go all across from one end of the paper to the other end of the paper, making them all different sizes. And shapes. Look at this one. This one has a real peak. I'm going to stop that one and then create another one so I can make this one look like it's in front of that one. And this will be a low one with kind of like a step kind of a shape. Now we have begun the drawing for our rural community. Certainly in urban communities, I don't see mountains. So that's a determining factor of what country looks like. So remember, when we think about when we think about rural, we think about the country. All right, another thing, let's draw a river. Now, here's the tricky part, but I bet you can get it if you follow. You're going to start on the horizon line, and you're going to make an S shape that goes all the way to your end of your paper. Now, let me do it first, and then you follow along. I make kind of a squiggle or S shape and see how it goes all the way down to the end of the paper. You can try that now. Now, here's the trick. We're trying to make it look 3D. That means like you can walk right into it. So we have to make sure that we understand that things that look far away are going to be small because they're so far away. But things that are up close are going to appear bigger. So we're going to apply that to when we try to make this river. So this part of the river is far away. So it's going to be really small and narrow, and it's going to widen out towards the bottom because that's going to be what looks like it's closer to us. Now let me show you how you do that. I'll do it with another color so you can see the difference of the lines. They start out close together, but look, as you take that curve, spread out, spread out, spread. Oh my goodness, look how wide it is here, and look how narrow the lines are there. Try to do that, and look at that, it's beginning to look three-dimensional. You see how you can, this is close to you, and as you go further into this, it'll look like it gets smaller. Now, this can be a river, or we're not going to have a road because there's not so many roads in the country, although it might be some roads in the rural area too, so you can make it whatever you want to in the end. But let's finish our picture. Let's start to add some trees because trees are an important part of a rural environment. There's lots of trees. So we're going to start back here, and I'm going to ask the Tooth Fairy. Oh, Tooth Fairy, I haven't seen any of your work. Can I see what you've done?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So cool. Tooth Fairy, I like that. Okay, well, let's continue. Tooth Fairy, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to make some trees. They're going to be along the horizon line. Should they be big, small, or medium?
Let's try some medium trees.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
They should be very small, you know.
Oh, right, because the 3D idea. So they're going to be small, far away.
Far away. If you made them
Got
big,
it, got it, got it, got it.
down here. So let's make our smaller trees along the horizon. So now watch. You don't have to make them sit right on them, but they can go. Let me use a darker marker, and you're going to do it like this. Watch this. They can go, and just do the tree trunks first, and we're going to make 3 on each side. And make sure they're colored in because we do not want to see the ground or the mountains behind them. So color them in dark. After you make your tree trunks, well, you know what goes on the top of a tree trunk. It's branches. And the way to make the branches is quite simple. All you have to do is make squiggly lines that come from the top of the trunk. Watch this. Squiggly line, squiggly line, squiggly line, squiggly line, squiggly line. Now, trees have a lot of branches, so you can put as many squiggles as you want, but try not to do too squiggly. Try to think like a tree. Think like a fairy. Think like a tooth fairy. And they know what a tree really looks like. It doesn't look all squiggly. So let's try to do some more tree branches on the other ones. Put the tree branches on the top of your other tree trunks. See, just little squiggle lines that represent the branches. And then the branches should be different size. They shouldn't be straight. And I'm going to do my last one. How are you doing, Tooth Fairy?
Can I show you?
Wow, I love it. Now, we're not going to put any leaves on the tree right now. Let's focus on just creating the trees, and we can add all kinds of wonderful details later. Now we're going to put trees in this area. Now, here's where the trees will be medium, Tooth Fairy, because they're getting closer to us, so they're going to start to get bigger. So I'm going to make them bigger. So you remember these size shapes that we made for the trunk? Well, make them now bigger. And I'm going to put mine in between. You can put them anywhere, but make sure that they're lower. And I'm going to put just 2. But you can already see my trunks are bigger than the ones over here. Now that we know how to make trees, you can continue with your branches. And Tooth Fairy, it's okay if your branches overlap. So this tree is in front of this tree, so the branches are in front of it, and some of the branches will overlap the tree. And that's quite cool because that makes it look more 3D, because in real life, things overlap. My hand is over my face, so you can do that. And now we're going to make one more tree, and the tree is going to be right around here. Now, I think that everyone might guess if the tree, what should the tree be? Small, medium, of course it should be large. So, because it's going to be the closest tree to you. So now watch my tree stump, and you can put your tree stump anywhere on the lower part of your picture, near the bottom, okay? And I'm gonna put mine right here, but look how big I'm making my trunk. Whoa! Because I want it to be twice as big as at least the smallest ones. So once you make your trunk shape, color it in. Don't leave it unfilled in the center. And then I'm going to add my branches. Now, let's do a checklist to make sure that you've done the things and you have success. The first thing is we all started with our horizon line. So I'd love for the Tooth Fairy, as I say things, if you can hold your picture up and just point to them. Tooth Fairy, show me on your picture where your horizon line is. Yay. Can you point to the part, can you show, oh wow, your trees came out amazing. They're so 3D. Which trees are furthest away from the person if they were in that picture? Yes, wonderful. And I'd like you to tell me, how did you get your river so 3D? Because part of being an artist is being able to explain, at least in your head, what you did. So let's see if the Tooth Fairy can explain what she did in her head so that she can do it again and again. Tooth Fairy, how did you get that effect?
Sure. So the part that's furthest away, I made the lines close. And then as the stream got closer to me, I made the lines further and further and further apart.
Wow. Now, do you think you can do this drawing all by yourself again? I bet you can, and I bet you can too. Everyone, this is the end of our session, but let me tell you, this drawing now is up to you to add to it. Think what kind of mystical creature would live in here. We said it's the Tooth Fairy, and she said it's a rural environment. What other things would be in a rural environment? Can you add? I think you might have all this area to add things. And especially if you want to add leaves or trees or things in the sky, it's up to you to take it over and make it the magical place it is. We're just here to start you off. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Tooth Fairy. I love drawing the picture with you, and whenever I think of a rural environment, I will certainly think of the Tooth Fairy.
Thank you, Mr. Wizard. Good luck on your election.
And I hope I have your vote.
You certainly do.
Yes. All right then. Bye for now, and bye PS51.
Bye-bye, PS51.